Greetings and skeletations, my new ghoul friends. I'm Niomi Dylan Sass, resident podcaster here at UIC Radio, and I'm taking you along with me to visit something grave today. This is where hauntings feel like hellos. Welcome to season 3 of a podcast for everything in the horror genre, from movies to mythologies and mysteries. This is Summer in the Crypt. Along with us on this week's frightful journey, your favorite hauntingly hot horror historian with a fishy fear. It's the dawn of Shark Week. Ooh ha ha! To kick off the long week equally swimmingly and savagely, we're diving into the 1999 horror action suspense thriller, Deep Blue Sea. If Jaws is the #1 shark movie, in my physically unsettling opinion, this movie is number 2. There will be a trigger warning at the beginning of each of my episodes, just in case today's dark discussion isn't your preferred potion. If you are someone who has a fear of the unknown, the ocean, or bloodthirsty sharks, beware. Ghoul, I get it if you can't listen to that right now. Just leave us a like on your way out and be sure to tune in next week for a different dark discussion. After this quick break, I'll be back to do some grave digging into why animatronics mixed with the special effects is the perfect recipe to make a sinisterly intelligent shark that makes any viewer's hair stand. Ghouls will find out what happened to the genetically modified tiger shark with enhanced traits, causing a thirst for revenge. I'll be rolling in my coffin with excitement while you listen to this quick message from beyond. We already know in the summer, this spell always works. This is She Summoning. Everybody, welcome to the studio. Me. So, I am excited because it is upon us. One of the most scariest weeks that lives outside of the month October. Shark Week. So if you guys, know my fears. My fears is sharks and roller coasters, but that's a different day. Sharks are probably like just the scariest thing ever, and that what makes me personally like terrified of the ocean. Even going into the lake, I have to constantly remind myself that there's not sharks inside of the lake. But, I always tell myself, like, you never know. But I also tell myself, no, I know lakes are freshwater. There's no freshwater sharks unless it's a scary movie. But honestly, you never know nowadays, like, what the heck is inside of Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is a mystery in itself. I hope you guys have been having a great summer. I have been having I would say a successful summer, a busy summer, a hot girl summer. I've been just working my 2 jobs, which I love. I've been, fixing my credit card debt from that I stacked up from when I got laid off from my other job in the middle of last semester. And so now I am getting ready to move out of the apartment that I've been at for like the last 2 years, but it's all the way in Evanston. And obviously this is UIC, we're in Chicago. On a good day at night with no traffic, it's only like a 30, maybe 5-minute drive. But during the day, there's always traffic, and it's anywhere from like 55 minutes to like an hour and a half to get here if you're driving. If you're taking the train, it's still like a good 55 minutes to the same amount of time. And it just like, driving is a little more expensive, but like I'd rather spend that amount of time like in the comfort of my car than tripping on the train, So I've been looking for apartments around UIC. If not around, I'm looking for like apartments around UIC, and I'm also like looking for apartments in like Ravenswood, Uptown area, just So that's like still like a little bit like far away and kind of close to the beach that I like to go to, but also closer to school. Freak, anything closer than where I live right now is closer to the school. And that's what I have going on. Everything kind of always like works out perfectly and lines up perfectly. So I guess the beginning of next semester is supposed to be August 24th, right? My lease ends August 23rd. So that means I'm trying to look for a place literally like either my main job that I have right now, my summer school job, that ends August 7th. So right now I'm looking for apartments, and I'm trying to like line it up where my move-in date is like the latest August 7th. So then I have that like 2 weeks from not having to go to work Monday through Friday, like a 9 to 5 basically, and having all that extra time to actually be able to move my apartment because I'm downsizing, so I can move stuff into the storage unit, and then I can figure out what's going to go into the real apartment that I'm going to be living in for the next 9 months to a year. But I'm super excited. This last apartment that I lived in, or the one that I'm still living in right now, I did not like it. The vibe of the apartment complex was very weird. The neighborhood was super nice, one of the nicest neighborhoods I ever lived in my entire life. But like it just was not my vibe personally. And I never felt like comfortable enough to kind of like decorate and make that apartment feel like my home, you know? It always just felt like a place that I was staying at, and I only wanted to stay there for a year. You know, plans change, and I ended up staying there for 2 years. So still, like, that was 2 years of me really not feeling like I can like actually move into this place because the vibes weren't there. So this next place, depending on the vibes or not, I need to make my place my vibe, you know? So as soon as I walk in, I want it to look like I live there, you know? This last place, it kind of was just whatever. It was a lot of space, and I'm looking for a studio, but like I feel like a studio will be easier to cohesively design. And I'm kind of been like collecting horror movie posters from the theater job I work at. So I want to get those framed and like put those up behind wherever like the TV is or next to the TV, and have like some cool lights and let that be a vibe, because I always I had in California, oh my god, you guys, I don't regret a lot of things, but I would have regretted never coming to Chicago, because, you know, I just have to. I'm one of the people I just need to know. I have to find out. But I wouldn't have been mad if I ended up staying in California, I think. But at the house that I lived at in California, I had my own movie room. I lived in a 4-bedroom house, basically almost by myself for the whole time. There was a lot of room in that house just for 2 people and some animals. So I had an office, I had my room, and then I had like a storage room, and then I had a movie room, and I had a projector in that room. I had like a little yeah, that was kind of like the guest room too in a way. But yeah, I had a projector. That was like my nicest like setup in that room. And yeah, that's one of the rooms I miss the most. Oh my god. However, I'm trying to bring the vibe of that room kind of into the new place I move into, whatever place it is. Yeah, that's what I got going on for the rest of the summer. I hope everybody is enjoying their break if you're on break from school. If you are working and you have the weekend off, I hope this weekend smacks. I hope it's the weekend that you've been needing. All right, are you guys ready to get into the next segment? This is Dark Discussions. So, today's movie on the dossier is one of the scariest shark movies, I think, and still holds up to the test of time. It is 27 years old at this point. It is Deep Blue Sea. It is from 1999. It was directed by Rennie Harlan, yeah. Written by Duncan Kennedy, Donna Powers, and Wayne Powers, and it's starring people like Thomas Jane, Saffron Burrows, Samuel L. Jackson, Jacqueline McKenzie, Michael Rapaport, Stellan Skarsgård. Oh, I wonder if that's Homie's dad. And LL Cool J with a feature from Ada Turturro. Yeah, this was honestly, they had a pretty good amount of like stars in this cast. And the acting came through for sure. And the director said that this was probably one of the hardest movies he personally ever had to direct. With that being said, I still think it was very, very well done. So, y'all know me. I have came to the conclusion. I always write summaries for most of the stuff that I do, but sometimes if the movie is old enough, like especially like the new movies, like the ones that just recently come out, I definitely have to write those summaries because those are not on the internet yet. So it is up to me to create that timeline and essence of the movie verbally for you guys to follow along and understand. However, with, older movies, IMDb kind of has like the rights to spoil it, basically. So I am going to be using their synopsis and, giving my little 2 cents. Alrighty, so it says, in a remote underwater facility, Dr. Susan McAllister and Jim Whitlock are doing research on mako sharks to help in the reactivation of dormant human brain cells like those found in Alzheimer's disease patients. After one of the sharks escapes the facility and attempts to attack a boat full of young adults who were saved at the last minute by Wrangler Carter Blake, who shot darts into the shark and straight landed it into the back, holding it and bringing it to the research facility. There's financial backers who have sunk $200 million into the research, sent a corporate executive, Russell Frank, this is who's played by Samuel L. Jackson, to investigate the facility, which was originally built by the Navy as a submarine refueling station during the war. All right, so let's take a little pause right there and let's meet our characters. So we have Susan McAllister. She is the main scientist lady. I will tell you guys right now, she gets on my nerves. She is a beautiful, intelligent lady, but for somebody who probably has a doctorate, yeah, it says doctor. For someone who has a doctorate's degree, she is very dumb. All right, and Jim Whitlock, he is another one of the scientist doctor people. We'll find out what happens to him in a little bit. And we have the Wrangler Carter Blake. He apparently used to be in jail for some sort of thingy, and this is kind of like his redemption arc, is him working as this pro shark hunter. Not hunter, shark wrangler. And yeah, this he be wrangling the sharks. And so we meet Samuel L. Jackson's character. He is one of the rich corporate executive people. He is the one that comes and figures out if what they have put all their money into is actually going to pay off or not. And like it said, they're researching Alzheimer's, and the reason why Alzheimer's is something that is near and dear to Miss Susan McAllister, the main scientist lady. Near and dear to her heart is because her father had Alzheimer's, and she said, do you know how hard it is to have to explain to your dad that his wife is dead every single day, his wife being her mom. And she was saying over 200,000 people are diagnosed with Alzheimer's a year, and just imagine what they can do if they're able to successfully create some sort of pill to prevent that, stop it, secede it, whatever. And this is why they are using sharks, because sharks are known as the oldest living species on the earth. They're kind of the perfect specimen. They always move. They just eat. They barely get sick. They're not known to get much diseases, and they kind of they don't really have any predators themselves. They're kind of low-key top of the food chain, especially if you're in their territory. Alrighty, so the facility has 3 test sharks, 2 first-gen and 1 second-gen female. The facility runs on a skeleton crew over the weekend as most people return home. The facility engineer, Tom Scoggins, is adamant that he closes the pens, which are titanium-laced, as per protocol, and hence the shark escapes some other way. The fences around the pens are 8 feet above water. Carter warns Susan that the test sharks have started to hunt in packs, a behavior that is unexpected for sharks. Susan warns Carter not to say anything to Russell, else she will fire him, and with Carter's criminal background, he will never get any more jobs anywhere. So see, this is one of the things why she's already being like a, ugh. So, like, and she was high-key flirting the whole entire time with this dude. I mean, Mr. Carter, he is so hot, you guys. Smash. So we got a couple sharks, 3 main sharks up in here, right? I'm already stressed. So the big shark is the second gen. This one is the big one. All right. So this is the one that we see break through the boat in the beginning. So this kind of like attack scene was crazy. This is like the cold opening to the movie, basically. So it's like a bunch of people on the boat and like they're vibing, and then, you know, something hits the boat and they're like, what? And then something hits the boat again and they're like, oh, this is crazy. What is that? And then boom, the shark comes straight through the boat and almost like eats one of them, but it ends up knocking all of them off the boat. So all of them are just swimming in the water, the shark infested water, by the way. They're just all like panicking, trying to get back onto the boat that has this giant hole in it, which isn't really going to help them anyway. So they're grabbing like the rope lines, and the rope are just falling and falling and falling. Like they are not getting on the boat. And just as the shark is able to, just as the shark was about to like eat one of them, this is when hottie Jack Wrangler, he comes in, he gets the shark, and he stops it just in time, at the nick of time. And this is what Susan is trying to threaten, like, girl, you go out there and do that. You go out there and do that, Miss Susan. Let's see anybody else. So, Susan and Jim prove their research is working by testing a certain protein complex that was removed from the brain tissue of their largest shark. When Carter captured the shark in the pen, it demonstrated that it recognized weapons and could also swim backwards, which bites off Jim's arm upon awakening in the laboratory. Susan releases the shark before Carter can kill it. Brenda Kearns, the tower operator, calls a helicopter to evacuate Jim, but as he is being lifted, the cable jams it and causes Jim to fall back into the shark pen. The largest shark, the Gen 2 females, grab the stretcher, and this part was effed up. So he grabs the stretcher and pulls the helicopter into the water, killing Brenda and the pilots, as well as causing a massive explosion that severely damaged the facility. The fuel dumps and the seaplane all explode. So let's dissect this for a second real quick. So what they're doing with the sharks is actually working for the Alzheimer's real quick, and that's great news. But they caught the shark. When Jack was down there trying to like lure the shark for them to be able to test it, this is when they were able to see that these sharks are like low-key smart AF. When Jack pulled out the gun, that was like the tranquilizer gun basically, because they were both attacking all the sharks. There's two, I think the two first gen sharks were attacking like the sides of the tank that Jack was in. So oh my god. Is his name Jack? Carter, yeah. His name is Carter. My bad, y'all. So when Carter was in the tank, those sharks were attacking both sides of him. And when he pulled out the gun, they were like, no, we know what that is. We're just going to swim away. We'll be back. We'll be back, though. And, like, sharks don't recognize patterns like that, especially what a gun is. Usually when sharks attack, it's because they think you're some sort of like fish or a fat seal. There's not a lot of sharks besides this shark that has a thirst for human blood. And so yeah, the other scientist dude, Mr. Jim, he gets his arm bit off by the shark, and everybody's freaking out. It's being crazy, and the Wrangler Carter, he wants to he immediately goes and breaks the emergency rifle and goes and grabs the rifle and tries to kill the shark. And just as he's about to shoot the shark, the scientist, she's like, "No, my research," and presses the release button and lets the shark back into the tank. So everybody knows who to blame. Her character arc is terrible. Actually, I love what happens to her. And the saddest thing that happens is the guy whose arms got bitten off, when he goes to get help, or when they finally get the helicopter to go get him to get help, the shark wins. I don't know how, I don't know why, but the shark ends up making makes the helicopter explode. Everybody in there explodes. The radio tower lady explodes, and the dude that was getting helped on the stretcher, he's still alive in the water, you guys. He's still alive in the water because he's already hooked up to an oxygen mask and tank to make sure that he doesn't die from his arm being bitten off. And he's just floating, strapped to a gurney. Yeah, I think that's what it's called. He's strapped to a gurney, floating with an oxygen mask in the shark-infested waters. And we'll get back into the synopsis. So, in the laboratory, Susan, Russell, Wrangler, Carter Blake, and marine biologist Janice Higgins and engineer Tom Scoggins witness the shark smash the stretcher against the laboratory's main window, which then shatters, drowning Jim and flooding the facility. The group goes to the facility wet, Entry Levy 3, where they plan to take a submersible to escape. So a submarine, yeah. They're going to the submarine to try to escape. And I don't know if you noticed this, but the shark had the dude Jim, who was hooked up to the gurney. The shark literally had him in the mouth, swimming, aiming straight for the glass that was inside of the laboratory, and threw the dude to the glass, and that's what caused the glass to shatter straight open. That was effed up. And homegirl, Janice, that's her husband. It is crazy. So the group, Susan confesses to the other that she and Jim genetically engineered the shark to increase their brain size, as they were not large enough to harvest sufficient amounts of protein complex. This had the side effect of making them a little smarter and more deadly. When the group reaches the wet entry, they discover that the submarine has been damaged. While delivering a monologue emphasizing the need for the group to unite, he was trying to encourage the group to put on wetsuits and swim to the top. Him is Samuel L. Jackson's character. It's 230 feet to the top. Humans swim 2 feet per second, while sharks swim 50 feet per second. Russell is dragged as Russell, that's the name of Samuel L. Jackson. He's dragged into the submersible pool by one of the sharks and devoured. So just as his character's like, "Nah, guys, we got this," he was saying he was in some avalanche with a team, and in the avalanche, that's when they got stuck for 10 days or over a week or something. And he was saying that was something that was extremely hard to overcome, but with perseverance, they were able to succeed in that. And with the same sort of perseverance, they're going to be able to succeed in swimming to the top of the surface and getting away from the sharks. But just before he was able to finish that brilliantly delivered monologue, thank you, Samuel L. Jackson, he gets bitten by the sharky. The sharky literally comes and grabs him and is just chomp, 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 chomp. If I had a shark, I would name the shark Silky Nutmeg Ganache, because Silky's entrance line on her original season was "Munch, munch, crunch, crunch. Silky Nutmeg is here to eat the lunch." And that was very much the vibe the shark was bringing once it was released. So, the remaining crew opts to climb up to the elevator shaft at the risk of destabilizing the pool. If there isn't enough pressure inside the shaft, the wet pool destabilizes and lets the entire ocean in. As they climb, explosive tremors cause the ladder to break, and Janice loses her grip and falls into the shark infested water. Despite Carter's attempt to save her, one of the two remaining sharks drags Janice under, killing and devouring her. So the plan is to climb up the elevator shaft and get out, right? Instead of having to swim to the surface, because there's no way that they're going to be able to outswim a shark if the shark sees them in the water, especially that long of a swim, like period point blank. They're all dying. And as they open up the elevator shaft, it does destabilize the pool that's inside of the laboratory. It just starts exploding water like a geyser straight up into the air, and they end up basically flooding the whole entire laboratory. But they're able to climb up the ladder of the elevator shaft, and as they're climbing up the ladder to the elevator shaft, at the very, very top of it, it is like all on fire. There's parts of it dropping and breaking that is also on fire. And as they're getting like halfway up the elevator shaft, this is when it breaks. And there's 3 of them on it. It is the marine biologist, the main scientist, Ho, and then one of the other scientist dudes. Yeah, I'm so sorry. That's so descriptive. And the marine biologist, she was the one that was at like the top of the ladder, so she had the longest fall. And so when the ladder fell, she wasn't able to hold on, keep her grip, and she became shark food. That kill was crazy. It was a good kill. It was sad. I liked her character. Her character was, I liked her character. We'll get into that a little later. All right, so in the facility kitchen, which has been partially flooded, Cook Sherman, Preacher Dudley, he's known as the Preacher. This is who's played by LL Cool J. He is so fine, you guys. My mom, when I was younger, and she would watch movies with him inside of it, and she would always be like, "Oh my God, he is so fine," and I'd be like, "Ew, what are you talking about?" Like, because it was just some older dude. I was a kid, but now that I am of age, him during this era, oh my God, he is so fine. I mean, he's probably still fine now. I haven't seen what he looks like right now, but for sure during this movie, the 90s, early 2000s, yes, ma'am. All right, so his character is known as the Preacher, right? He has a little parrot. His parrot is in the process of getting devoured, and his parrot is getting devoured by the shark because everything is flooded. The Preacher is basically all on his own for most of the movie, and he comes in contact with one of the sharks. So he is swimming to the kitchen, and he sees his parrot, and he's trying to get his parrot, and the shark ends up just eating his parrot, knocking over what the Preacher is like standing on, which was like a shelf. And then so this is when he hides himself in the oven, and the shark sees that he hides himself in the oven. Can we talk about how smart that is, though? Like, if I was in that situation, I wouldn't think, oh, let me get into this industrial sized oven that is totally human sized. And it was a good way to hide because like the shark, I don't think is going to be able to really like open an oven. You know, it would be some real movie magic if he grew some opposable thumbs and opened it. However, something that wasn't a little bit believable, everything's already submerged underwater. I don't know how this still worked, but the oven did still work, and the shark was going after him inside of the oven, and he ended up turning the oven on. The Preacher had an axe with him, thankfully, and was like, nope, this is not where I'm dying. And he like hacks into the metal above him and is able to get into the upper part of the oven. And just as he gets into the upper part of the oven, this is when the shark breaks into the part where he was originally in. And the shark, of course, did turn on the oven. So there's gas just, you know, filling the whole entire, what is it called? Not a utensil. Appliance. Yep. There's just gas filling the whole entire like industrial sized appliance. And so as LL Cool J's character like jumps out, the shark is kind of stuck inside of the oven, so this gives him enough time to like swim away from it. And just as he gets to the door, he has a lighter and like puts up the lighter, and he's like, "You killed my bird," and threw the lighter into the gas flames, and it blew up this shark. So the Preacher is already like he got one done all by himself. R.I.P. to the bird. I'm so sorry. That was kind of sad. It's sad when animals die, but at least it was like an animal dying from an animal. So that's more so the circle of life, even though like a parrot and a shark shouldn't come in contact. I'm sure there have. Yeah. There's Rio. I'm sure a shark and a parrot are best friends in Rio, actually. So the shark triggers the gas. So Sherman moves to the upper half of the oven and lets the shark break into the lower half while he triggers the explosion to kill the shark, blah, blah, blah. He then makes his way to the elevator shaft. Him, as in the preacher. He makes his way to the elevator shaft on level 2, where he encounters the remaining survivors, Carter, Tom, and Susan. Carter is the hot guy. Tom is the other guy, and Susan is the scientist lady, the main one, who released the shark instead of letting Carter kill it in the beginning. But I mean, like, if he killed it, there probably would have been no movie. I mean, they still could have had a movie because there was 2 other sharks. Whatever. Susan is not a good person. Like most scientists with some sort of plan to mutate already living organisms in, quote unquote, the name for the better good, but then lives are definitely at the expense of this. So Carter and Tom go to the flooded laboratory to activate a control panel that drains a stairway to the surface. This is their new plan because they're figuring out most of the building is being like destroyed by now. It's sinking, and if it's not already sinking and exploded, it is flooding. So there's not much options to get out of there to the surface to, request some help because the first batch of help that came for them was unsuccessful. I mean, pause real quick. If that helicopter, backup should have came a whole lot sooner than it did if that helicopter never returned from that SOS, because they like SOS, they were like, we need some help ASAP. Send somebody right now, and that helicopter came ASAP. So if that helicopter didn't get back ASAP, wouldn't they be like, where is the helicopter? We have no contact with that whole entire facility. Maybe we should check on them. Nah, we can wait till morning. Because they didn't come until morning. Insane. So Carter and Tom reach the control panel, but just as they do, the largest shark storms in, killing and ripping Tom apart and sabotaging the controls. R.I.P. Tom. In the other room, Susan encounters another shark and electrocutes it with a power cable, destroying her research in the process. So, Susan is technically safe in a dry room, like drying with the preacher, while the other 2 kind of like sacrifice themselves to make sure that they have a route out. So yeah, them 2 are kind of safe while the other 2 are like, I guess we'll go into the water to make sure we have a route out. And she still's like, I need to go get my research, and leaves the safety and comfort of dryness inside of one of the only rooms. If it's dry and there's no water in there, that's one of the only rooms the sharks can't get you. And she goes into the water-filled research room that has her research magically it is in a waterproof case, just like a plastic, like, what a waterproof phone is in now. It was in something like that. So, in the other room, this is when she comes in contact with another one of the sharks. I think these ones are like the smaller sharks. The first one that got killed, that the cook killed, the preacher. And this one is, I'm assuming, the other one. So when she comes, she's in a wetsuit, a rubber wetsuit, by the way. She thinks she sees like a power line already like flipping with the electricity like floating everywhere out of it, and she thinks to take off her wetsuit, go on something that was dry, and just as the shark is coming close to her, she like shoves the wire in the shark's mouth, and it like, or no, she shoves it into the water. I don't remember. She either shoves it into the water, into the mouth, and it explodes. Basically fries the shark. And also her research fell in the water, and it is fried and melted in that plastic case. So after regrouping, Carter, Susan, and the preacher go to a decompression chamber and swim to the surface. There's no other option as the station is filling up with water and will structurally collapse at any moment. The preacher is grabbed by the last shark just as they reach the surface, but he is released when he stabs the shark in the eye with his crucifix. Though he escapes with injuries to his leg, only one test shark is left now, and I'm pretty sure this one is the big one, the mamo, the female. So, yeah, the way that they were able to swim up to the surface, they grabbed like a bunch of fire extinguishers and they had the fire extinguishers like with them to create bubbles around them. And as they're swimming up, the shark does come and it eats one of the fire extinguishers first. So, that does buy them time. So, good idea on them. And just literally as they get to the surface, that's when the preacher ends up getting bit. And thank God he didn't die, because he is my favorite character in this whole movie. Yes, because he's fine. Okay. So Carter realizes that the sharks made them flood the facility so they could escape through the weaker mesh fences at the top of the surface. So the whole entire facility is made of steel fences, but the fences that basically sit on top of the surface where sharks usually can't get are just regular schmegular fences that, surround like playgrounds and stuff at school. And he figured out that these sharks are smart enough to be like, okay, we're in a box and there's only one thing that we want. Freedom! 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 So although Carter prepares a harpoon with an explosive charge inside, it's rigged to a battery that will send a current, and kapoosh. In an effort to distract the shark from escaping to the open sea, Susan cuts herself and dives into the water because where Carter is at this point, the shark is too far and the arrow is not going to be able to reach the shark. So she was like, okay, it's still an animal. I know how to get it over here. And she, uses herself as bait, thinking she's going to get away. And although she manages to distract the shark, she is unable to get out of the water. She tries to climb up this ladder, and of course the ladder breaks, and it is devoured, despite Carter's efforts to save her. So it was kind of cool, too. Like, the shark, looks at her for a second, and is like, I know exactly who you are. And she's like, no, you don't, and tries to swim away, and he's like, haha, yeah, I do. And just munch, munch, crunch, crunch. Like, this was the definition of eating and left no crumbs, because there was none of that scientist left inside of the water. I'm sure he even slurped up the blood that was mixed inside of the water, because that was something that shark has been waiting for. While Carter is grabbing hold of the shark's dorsal fin, the preacher shoots the shark with a harpoon, but also pierces Carter's thigh, because Carter's in the water trying to save homegirl, but, couldn't happen. So he left the harpoon up there. Thankfully, the preacher's like, okay, let me hop in, and shoots him. Oopsies, he got him too, whatever. So as the shark finally breaks through the fence, Carter orders the preacher to connect the trailing wire to a battery, which is going to send that electric current through the wire to an explosive charge in the harpoon, exploding and killing the shark. Even though Carter was attached, he was able to hold onto the fence last second, and I think the arrow ripped off of him and stayed in the shark, and that's when he managed to free himself just in time and joins the preacher to see a worker's boat en route to them. So, that boat should have been there a whole lot sooner. And I think one of the funniest things, this was probably one of the only funny things in the movie. This movie was a really, suspenseful movie. It is dead-ass action-packed, in my opinion. And it was super funny at the end, because the preacher was talking to the shark wrangler, and he was like, are you sure there was only 3 sharks? But the shark wrangler had his feet still kind of in the water a little bit, where they were resting, because they think it's over. And that's when the preacher was like, are you sure there's only 3 sharks in the water? And then the shark wrangler doesn't even say nothing, kind of just looks at him and just lifts his feet out of the water completely, so he's off of the of the water and just on the dryness. And that was so real. Anytime I'm paddleboarding, anytime I have like the thought that there's a shark in the water, because I'll paddle, when I sit, I'll have like majority of my legs in and my thighs are on the board, sitting with the board like right in between. And so anytime I think that there's something in the water, I immediately just lift up my legs like that right onto the board. And so I felt that. I felt seen. Alrighty, you guys, that was Deep Blue Sea. So this movie is really, really cool. We're going to get into some of the deleted scenes real quick. There wasn't many deleted scenes that didn't, I see why they were deleted. They didn't have like much to do. They didn't really like drive the story forward at all. But one of them was like the marine biologist. She was pregnant. So sorry about that. And another like a cool, like she was a really good actress. Another cool like deleted scene was the scientist lady was trying to apologize and was saying, "Oh, your husband was a good guy, blah 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 blah," and she was like, "You didn't even know him, even though you worked with him for five years. Like, what's his favorite pizza topping? What's his worst fear? What's his this? What's his that?" And she said, something happened. I think like a family member died. I think his mom died or something. And she was like, he didn't even tell you, not because you didn't care, but because like basically it would fall on deaf ears. And she was like, "Oh my God, me? How you serious?" I'm trying to do Australian accent. I think she was Australian. The main scientist lady. And then another deleted scene. Yeah, I think that was like the main thing, the main plot point that they kind of just cut out of the movie. Other than that, the deleted scenes were just kind of like extra exposition, I also want to get into some like of the animatronics and the puppetry of it all. So the person who built the sharks, because it took them like 8 months to build the animatronic sharks for this movie. It's the same guy who built the animatronic for Free Willy. Y'all know Free Willy. And the same guy who built the giant like killer snake from Anaconda. That movie is starring Ice Cube and Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez doesn't have a stitch of makeup in that movie, and she looks amazing. Youth is like, I love youth. I thought that was like really fascinating that was, from the same guy. They also used some sort of like aerospace technology. So these animatronics, they swam on their own. Yeah, they were like remote controlled and stuff, but they were like fit for the water. They swam on their own. They were very inspired from the movie Jaws, of course. But as we all know, in the movie Jaws, the animatronic for Jaws, Brucey, was not completely finished, right? So they, did the best they could with what they got. I'm doing the best I could with what I got. That was very much the vibe in Jaws, but they wanted to kind of like, since it was almost 25 years in the future from when Jaws came out, they wanted to show how advanced stuff had gotten. So they were able to build a complete shark, a couple of them, I think, and all of them like swam in the water. So a lot of this was like practical effects. The only time that they didn't do practical effects with the shark kills was when it impeded on like the safety of crew and the safety of their set and the safety of the actors, of course. So like some of the kills that were done, that when the one scientist got his arm ripped off from the shark, that was done with practical effects and the puppet of the shark. That shark inside of that whole entire scene was a real shark. The shark that the shark wrangler was like swimming with in the beginning, it was a tiger shark, right? So the tiger shark was one of the ones that they caught in the beginning, and it had a license plate stuck in its mouth. And fun fact, it is the same license plate that they got out of the tiger shark in the original Jaws. So that was like their little homage to that. But that tiger shark was a real shark, and that whole scene was him really swimming on that shark, which was so scary. So scary. A lot of the actors were saying when they first saw the sharks, they thought like it was real sharks. But so that death scene was done with the real shark, and probably I think they added the blood in post. What was another death scene? The Samuel L. Jackson death scene, his death scene was one that was done with CGI because that was one of the things that it could have like really done something to the set if they had that heavy animatronic jump through the little hole and like pull Samuel L. Jackson through. But the marine biologist, her death when the ladder fell, that death was done by the shark. They had to shoot it a couple times where you just see her sitting inside of the animatronic mouth and she's like, okay, yeah, you guys ready to do it again? Let's go. And oh my God. If I would love to see if I got like cast in one of these movies like this, I would literally not even be acting. That's what the director said. He was like, a lot of this isn't really like them acting with the sharks. It's them just reacting to like the realness of what the shark can do. When you have a real life shark in front of you instead of like CGI green screen trying to pretend something is there, that's when you can just be like, oh no, this is definitely real. This is not fake. Especially when it looks that real. Oh my God, I would be shitting my pants. Another scene that was done with the shark that wasn't a death scene, almost a death scene, was the one with the preacher right at the end. The shark really had the preacher in his mouth swimming through the water. But the one with the one guy when they were trying to make another route, that guy, I forgot his name already, but his was done with CGI because that was all underwater, and you didn't want to risk the safety of the actor in that extent. And I think also the actor was very much like, I don't want to go near it. It's scary. No. The guy who got his arm bit off in the beginning, he wasn't even down. He's like, I don't usually like doing my own stunts, but director's wishes. But that's what makes this movie so scary, in my opinion, is because they still like perfectly mixed CGI when they had to, not because they wanted to, like in the most sense because they had to and they could, and it was just as good back then as the animatronic that they made. And especially, I'm sure now with our high definition TVs, our 4K TVs, we can tell that we can spot the difference between the puppet and the CGI. But when this movie came out, I bet you literally probably could not spot the difference. A lot of the actors were really down. I liked Samuel L. Jackson's like kind of not interpretation, but his commentary on his experience filming this movie. He was saying when I read the script, like he didn't realize how wet it was gonna be, and then when he started filming it, he was like, "Oh no, we're soaked 24/7. There's like water hitting you here, water hitting you there. You're swimming through this. There's water exploding, overlapping, and we're freezing. But let's do it." A lot of them had to test and train with actual sharks in order to swim like with the animatronic sharks. One of them being the shark wrangler. They had to take him cage diving with real sharks all the time. They had their own real shark wrangler on set, and I'm sure he studied how he was able to maneuver the real sharks and used that in the movie to wrangle the fake sharks. But like, oh my God, that would be something I don't think I could do. I think that's where I would draw the line. I'd be like, why do I have to swim with the real sharks? That's a fake shark. Can I just practice with the fake shark? Please. I think that's like all the really background stuff that I have. I think the only other thing is like the other actress, the marine biologist. I think I really liked her character is because like her as an actress outside of it, the real person, she was like, you're just, when you start researching these sharks, you can't help but like fall in love with them and think they're so fascinating and powerful. But like her character was the one that was like weak, timid, and crying. So like seeing that different dichotomy of like who she is as a person and what she was portraying as a character, I was like, okay, I see your acting skills, yes ma'am. But other than that, LL Cool J was my favorite. This is one of the only movies to have a person of color back then at this time to like live through the whole entire movies, because usually it was a trope back then. It was a bad stereotypical trope that the black guy or the black girl was always the first one to die, and he did not. He was so fine, you guys. Oh my God. Alrighty, you guys. That was Deep Blue Sea. So we are at the part where we get to play one of my favorite games, Slash or Smash. The rules are very simple. I'm going to tell you some scary horror sharky movies, and we're gonna say whether we would slash or smash and why. So these are movies that I've personally seen. I don't know if you guys have seen. Go ahead and comment your top slash and your top smash if you have seen any of these movies. All right, so we're starting off with 47 Meters Down. This one is directed by Johannes Roberts. He's actually kind of like one of my favorite niche directors. He always has something with the water. He's been on the Crypt before. And it's starring people. Thank you, people. The quick little plot synopsis is two sisters vacationing in Mexico are trapped in a shark cage at the bottom of the ocean with less than an hour of oxygen left and great white sharks circling nearby. They must fight to survive. So, this movie, all right, so I am somebody where if the ending isn't the ending that I like, it kind of not ruins the whole movie for me, but it's a movie where I'm like, nope. So for that, I'm going to give this movie a slash. So I'm going to tell you where I think the movie should have ended, and I would have given it a smash. So basically, you know, these two sisters, they're not only fighting these sharks down there, but they're fighting, like, getting the bends, which is, like, air bubbles going into their brain and making them hallucinate and all that. So one of the sisters die, and it's just one of the girls just, like, left there alone trying to... one of the sisters gets attacked, okay? And so it's one of the girls left alone. So then her sister ends up coming back to the cage, still like half alive and shit, right? So then she's like, all right, this is our last chance. They have flares somehow. I don't remember how they got their hands on flares, but they're using the flares to kind of distract themselves to swim up to the surface. They know that they have to like stop halfway in order for their like brain to calibrate and not get air bubbles inside of their head so they don't freaking die from that before the sharks get them. So there's this whole like giant epic shark battle fight where they're in the middle of the ocean. Her sister's like bleeding to death and she's like fighting these sharks, right, with the flares. And you know, they end up getting to the surface. They kind of win the battle, right? And so when they get to the surface, there's this like cruise ship that's there, and they like help them and see them and bring them up to the surface. And they're like, once they get there, her and her dead sister are like, haha, we made it. Oh my God, we finally made it. Yes, we made it. And then as she's saying we made it, it like goes back down to the ocean, and it's her sister. You know, her sister, when she originally got, the two sisters, we'll call her blonde and brunette. The brunette one was the one who got attacked, and the blonde one was the one who didn't. So when the brunette actually got attacked, it killed her. And the blonde one actually was just succumbing to the bends and the bubbles in her head and was hallucinating this whole entire thing. So that whole entire shark fight never happened. Her sister actually died, and a scuba and a tank, a whole like scuba team came down there and saved her. I think that it should have ended where they were just saved by the cruise ship. And after that whole epic battle fight, because I mean, that whole thing wasn't even real. Like, what? And for that, of course, it gets a slash. Long tangent, excuse me. All right, next up on the dossier, it is Shark Tale. So, the little synopsis of Shark Tale is when a son of a gangster shark boss is accidentally killed while on a hunt, his would-be prey and his vegetarian brother decide to use the incident to their own advantage. This movie is directed by a few people, but most importantly, this is a movie that had like a star-studded cast as the voice actors. It had Will Smith, Robert De Niro, Renee Zellweger, Jack Black, Angelina Jolie, Ziggy Marley. But yeah, this movie is gonna get a smash. This movie is one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my whole entire life. And for Shark Week, I'm going to watch this movie. I won't report on it. I think I'm just gonna watch it for my own little pleasure. All right, next up is the movie No Way Up. So The synopsis of this movie is characters from different backgrounds are thrown together when the plane they're traveling on crashes into the Pacific Ocean. A nightmare fight for survival ensues with the air supply running out and dangers creeping in from all sides. So, this movie it's still, First and foremost, this movie's gonna get a slash. The acting was terrible. It still scared me because sharks scare me and planes scare me. So when you mix those two things together, not only was it a plane crash, but it was a shark attack on the plane crash. But they were literally like, how can we get a shark on a plane? And they're like, perfect, let's do this. But like the plane was fully underwater, but there was still like the way it landed underwater was able to hold in oxygen, so they weren't fully underwater for the whole plane, but they're still trying to fight the shark. There's only one entrance exit, and the shark's coming in through there, trying to pick them all off one by one. It was bad. It was still scary, but the plot was bad. The acting was bad. It's a slash. All right. Next up on the dossier is the movie Thrash. It is a Netflix original. It just came out this year, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna have to give this one a smash. So I'll tell you why. The plot was stupid too. The sharks were okay. The kills were crazy. The acting was fair. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not mad at the acting. So here, let's talk about the synopsis real quick from IMDb. It says, when a Category 5 hurricane decimates a coastal town, the storm surge brings devastation, chaos, and something far more frightening: hungry sharks. So this town is flooding, and it is making the sharks come to the town. So there is a pregnant lady that it's basically following. The story's following the whole entire time. First of all, this is directed by Tommy Wirkola and written by Tommy Wirkola, and starring, some people who are probably happy they got cast. I'd be happy if I got cast in this movie. Phoebe Denever, Whitney Peak, Digimon Hunsu, Lila Brown, and Stacey Clausen's in this movie. I have to rewatch it. I didn't even realize he was in this movie. He's the one that was in Leviticus. He's so cute. Oh my god. Did I give this movie a smash? I did. I'm glad I did because he said it. All right, whatever. So the main reason why I'm giving this movie a smash is because finally it was a shark movie that thought of something that hasn't happened before. So the lady gives birth right as a shark is trying to attack her. So she got saved by her neighbor, and the house is flooding, and she's on this bed, and her water breaks, and the neighbor leaves to try to go get help. And as the whole house crumbles, she's still floating on the bed, and she ends up giving birth to the baby. The baby's still on the umbilical cord, and as the shark is coming towards the mom and her newly born babe, the lady, she breaks a piece of floating wood, cuts the umbilical cord with it, puts her baby on something that's floating, and she's like, all right, let's go, and then kills the shark at the end. And I was like, you know what, that scene was also intense, even though the CGI was CGIing, but that was also, I was like, okay, this is something new. I love when there's something new, it was still a terrible movie, but I'm still gonna give it a smash. All right, the last movie on the dossier today. It is gonna be the one, the only Sharknado. This is another one of those sci-fi movies where it's like, what the H? But I'm gonna give this movie a smash because it is camp. All right, so it is saying that when a freak hurricane swamps Los Angeles, nature's deadliest killer rules sea, land, and air as thousands of sharks terrorize the waterlogged populace. So it's a water tornado, and there's nothing but sharks in there. So people are just dying from sharks inside of a tornado. And you know what? I live. I'm gonna smash for all of the wrong reasons. Alrighty, everybody, that was Slash or Smash. We have almost dug a hole big enough to fit this topic into. But before we go, this is part of the show where we answer chilling inquiries from the Crypt Keepers. Today's question is from the scariest place of all, the Instagram DMs. So it is, do you know any shark fun facts? Alrighty, I looked up some. I didn't know some off the top of my head because they scare me, and I don't know, me and sharks, we got beef, okay? But since this movie was about tiger sharks, I wanted to look up some interesting facts about tiger sharks for you guys. So this little article is from oceanshark.com. It is a blog, it is news, it is about sharky sharks. It doesn't say who it is written by, but yeah, y'all can go check it out there. It is saying there's 5 fascinating facts about the tiger shark. Quick answer. Tiger sharks are the large apex predator best known for their serrated, sideways curving teeth, an almost indiscriminate diet, and ranking second only to the great white for record unprovoked bites on humans. Below are 5 facts that explain why, plus how to identify a genuine tiger shark tooth. The tiger shark is one of the ocean's most misunderstood predators. Known for its bold stripes and fearsome reputation, it's both feared and admired. Beyond the headlines, tiger sharks hide some genuinely fascinating biology. Tiger sharks eat almost anything. They're also known as garbage cans of the sea, which is probably why they have been, eating people. They're like, you know what? I'm down. I never tried this. Why not? And then another fact is tiger sharks' teeth are built like saws, and they constantly regenerate. This is something I did not know. When I read this, I was like, are you kidding me? What do you mean they regenerate? They just grow back? So, they just have... I know that they have, rows of teeth, but you mean they could just grow teeth and teeth and teeth and teeth and teeth and teeth and teeth? That is insane. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Not one bit. Tiger sharks navigate with night hunting and long-distance migration. They are largely solitary, nocturnal hunters that feed under cover of darkness. So, this is why this made sense for them to be in the deep blue sea. Spooky ooky. How do tiger sharks reproduce? How do they reproduce? Unlike many fish that lay eggs, tiger sharks are oviviparous. Ovoviviparous. Why, yes. The eggs hatch inside the mother and she gives birth to live young. A single female can deliver a large litter, in some cases up to around 80 pups, each roughly 50 to 75 centimeters long at birth. The pups are fully independent from day one, with hunting instincts active almost immediately. That's crazy. Oh my god. And the last one. Are tiger sharks dangerous to humans? I mean, according to them being the second highest number of record unprovoked bites on humans, how do they know if it was provoked or unprovoked? But I would say, yeah. They are dangerous. This says what sets them apart is their curiosity. They tend to investigate unfamiliar objects with an exploratory test bite rather than swimming away. That boldness makes them effective apex predators and explains their reputation, but attacks remain rare relative to the number of human shark encounters each year. Yeah. No, thank you. It's saying... It was ominous answers. It was saying, if you see one, it's dangerous. If you don't see one, it's not dangerous. Well, yes, girl. Yes. Thank you. I got that. So, if we want to know how to identify a real tiger shark tooth, it is a broad curved cusp that angles sharply to one side. It's not symmetrical. The serrations give it away. Its coarse primary serrated along the edge. The symmetry is upper and lower teeth look very similar, unlike many other shark species. So you won't know if it's harder to tell if it's from the upper or top or jaw. The color is a genuine modern teeth range from an off-white through gray to brown, consistent across the tooth. not painted on. I would wonder where the shark got paint from. And the size is mostly roughly between 2.5 and 5 centimeters, large for a tooth, reflecting the shark's size. All right. Thank you so much, and that was the fun facts that I got for y'all today about sharky sharks. That was the Crypt questions. I'd like to thank you all for hanging out with me today. I don't have much to plug right now. Just go follow my Instagram at She's in the Crypt so you can see everything I got going on. I got back into skating. I made a skateboard from scratch, so you can go see those videos. You can go see me put on a grip tape on a deck board. You can go see me build a deck board from scratch, and you can go see me learn how to ollie. I'd like to thank UIC Radio for publishing this podcast. But most importantly, I'd like to thank you, the Crypt Keepers. Thank you for digging this grave with me today. But unfortunately, the graveyard is closed. So until next time, we'll leave this episode in the crypt. Farewell and bad dreams. Make sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at She's in the Crypt for updates about shows and upcoming guests. Follow UIC Radio at UIC Radio on Insta and subscribe to the UIC Radio YouTube channel so you won't miss a single episode every Friday. And you can also check out the other shows on the network. Make sure to leave the podcast a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. It really helps the algorithm push the show. The podcast was created, written, and edited by Niomi Dylan Sass. Hey, and published by UIC Radio. Music by Arthur Benson, The Friendly Ghost, and sound effects from epidemicsounds.com. If you can't get enough of She's in the Crypt, you can check out my weekly blog, Crypt Collections, every Saturday morning on the website uicradio.net. And find me in the blog section. Bye!